December 22nd, 1944. 14:30 hours. Bastogne, Belgium. Private Eugene Rowe stood in the frozen street, watching wounded soldiers die. The aid station was overwhelmed. 47 casualties waiting for evacuation. No ambulances, no transport, no way to move them to field hospitals. They just lay there, on stretchers, on the ground, in the snow, bleeding, freezing, dying, because there was no way to evacuate them. Rowe was 23 years old, combat medic, 101st Airborne Division, Easy Company. He'd been treating casualties since D-Day, 6 months of combat, Normandy, Holland, now Belgium, Battle of the Bulge, the largest German offensive since 1941, the bloodiest battle in American history, and Bastogne was surrounded, cut off, trapped. The situation was catastrophic. 11,000 American soldiers, encircled by 45,000 Germans, no supply line, no reinforcement, no evacuation route, just surrounded, fighting, surviving, or trying to. The wounded were accumulating, faster than they could be treated, faster than they could be evacuated, because there was nowhere to evacuate them to. The roads were cut. The Germans controlled everything outside Bastogne. Moving wounded was impossible. They stayed, suffered. Many died. Not from wounds, from exposure, from lack of treatment, from inability to reach hospitals, preventable deaths, unnecessary deaths. Let's pause here for a moment. If you find value in stories like this, you can support the channel by liking the video and subscribing. After watching, leaving a brief comment, even a simple word, helps more than you might expect. Your support keeps these stories alive and visible. Thank you. Let's move on. Rowe had watched this for 3 days, since December 19th, when the encirclement closed, when evacuation stopped, when the wounded started accumulating, first dozens, then hundreds, now approaching 1,000, wounded soldiers everywhere, in buildings, in basements, in churches, anywhere with roof and walls, some warmth, some protection, but no medical care beyond basic first aid, no surgery, no blood transfusions, no antibiotics, just bandages, morphine, prayer. Not enough. The aid station commandant was Captain Jack Pryor, 32 years old, Medical Corps, experienced surgeon, good doctor, overwhelmed administrator. He had resources for 200 casualties, treating 1,000, with supplies for 3 days. Now day 4, running out everything, bandages, plasma, morphine, sulfa powder, everything depleting. Soon, nothing. Then just watching. Men dying. Unable to help. Unbearable. Pryor called Rowe to his office. Small room, frozen, papers everywhere, casualty reports, supply inventories, desperate calculations. Rowe, we need transport, ambulances, trucks, anything that moves wounded. We're losing men because we can't evacuate them, not because wounds are fatal, because we can't get them to hospitals. That's unacceptable. Sir, there are no ambulances. All were destroyed or captured. Trucks are being used for ammunition. Food, critical supplies. Command won't release them for medical use. Then we need to find alternatives. Commandeer vehicles, repurpose equipment, something. I don't care what. We need transport, now. What about German vehicles? We captured several half-tracks, SDKFZ 251. They're sitting in motor pool, unused. Could we convert them? Pryor hesitated. Using enemy equipment? That's against Geneva Convention. Red Cross markings on enemy vehicles. That's war crime. Court-martial offense. Sir, with respect, watching soldiers die because we have no transport is also unacceptable. Geneva Convention doesn't help dead soldiers. You're right. But I can't authorize this. If discovered, they'll court-martial everyone involved, including me. I have family, career, future. I can't risk that. So we do nothing? Let men die? I'm saying I can't give you authorization, can't order you to do this, can't officially support it. But if you, acting independently, without orders, Happened to modify some vehicles. I wouldn't know about it. Couldn't stop you. Wouldn't investigate too closely, understand? Rowe understood. Plausible deniability. Pryor was giving permission without giving permission, protecting himself. But enabling the work. Political cover. Bureaucratic protection. Cowardly but practical. Rowe accepted. I understand, sir. I'll see what can be done. Independently. Without orders. December 22nd, 1500 hours. Rowe went to Motorpool, found Sergeant Bill Guarner, Motorpool NCO, 30 years old, Philadelphia. Tough, practical, resourceful. Sarge, I need a favor. Those German half-tracks we captured. Can I have one? What for? Medical transport, ambulance. We're losing wounded because we can't evacuate them. You want to convert enemy vehicle to ambulance? That's illegal. You're right. Completely illegal. Court-martial for everyone involved. So if you refuse, I understand. But men are dying. Preventable deaths. Because we have no transport. I'm going to fix that. With or without help. Your choice. Guarnere looked at him. Considered. How many half-tracks you need? Many as you can spare. 12 would be ideal. Cover all aid stations. I got 7 SDKFZ 251s. Good condition. Fully fueled. Germans maintained them well. You can have all 7. But I never saw you take them. Never helped you modify them. Never knew anything about this. Clear? Crystal clear. Thank you, Sergeant. Don't thank me. Thank yourself for having balls to break rules that need breaking. Now get out of here before I change my mind. The SDKFZ 251 was excellent vehicle for conversion. German half-track. Combination wheeled front, tracked rear. Good mobility. Off-road capability. Armored protection. Spacious interior. Perfect for medical use. Original purpose was armored personnel carrier. Carried 12 troops plus crew. Could easily carry 8 wounded on stretchers. With modifications. The vehicle specifications were well suited for ambulance role. Length, 5.8 meters. Width, 2.1 meters. Height, 1.75 meters. Weight, 7.81 tons empty. 8.5 tons loaded. Engine, Maybach HL42 TRKM. 6-cylinder gasoline. 100 horsepower. Top speed, 52 kilometers per hour on road. 21 kilometers per hour off-road. Range, 300 kilometers. Fuel capacity, 160 liters. Armor, 14.5 millimeters front, 8 millimeters sides. Adequate protection against small arms. Shrapnel, not against anti-tank weapons. But medical vehicles shouldn't be targeted anyway. Geneva protection, theoretically. The interior dimensions were adequate. Cargo area, 3.5 meters long, 1.8 meters wide, 1.5 meters high. Volume, 9.5 cubic meters. Standard stretcher, 2.1 meters long, 0.55 meters wide. 8 stretchers stacked 2 high required 4.2 cubic meters, leaving 5.3 cubic meters for medical supplies. Equipment, personnel, tight fit, but workable, functional, good enough. The modifications required removing military equipment, machine gun mounts on front, twin MG-34 mounting, heavy, unnecessary, dangerous. Medical vehicles shouldn't have weapons. Geneva violation. Plus weight saved allowed more medical supplies. Rowe's team unbolted mounts, removed completely, gained 12 kilograms weight, 20 square centimeters deck space, small gains. But everything counted. Ammunition racks along walls, designed for rifle magazines, Panzerfaust rounds, grenades, all military, all removed, gained storage space, approximately 0.3 cubic meters, used for medical supplies, bandages, plasma, morphine, sulfa powder, everything needed for emergency treatment during transport. The racks themselves were useful, just repurposed. Instead of ammunition, medical equipment, same brackets, different contents. The stretcher racks were critical design challenge. Each half-track needed to carry 8 stretchers, 4 per side, stacked 2 high. Requirements were specific. stable, secure, quick loading, quick unloading, prevent wounded from sliding during movement, especially off-road, rough terrain, emergency driving. Wounded couldn't be jostled, couldn't be thrown. Injuries could worsen. Deaths could result. Rowe designed simple system. Wooden frames bolted to vehicle walls. Each frame was L-shaped bracket. Horizontal arm supported stretcher. Vertical arm prevented sliding. Brackets spaced 2.1 meters apart lengthwise, 0.6 meters apart vertically for stacked configuration. Each bracket attached to armor with 4 bolts, grade 8, high strength, 12 millimeter diameter. The armor was thick enough. Pre-drilled holes weren't issue. German half-tracks had mounting points throughout interior for seats, equipment racks, various purposes. Rowe used existing holes, minimized new drilling, preserved armor integrity. The stretchers slid into brackets, front first, pushed back until secured, simple locking mechanism, spring-loaded pin, engaged automatically, prevented accidental release during movement. To remove stretcher, pull pin, slide out, easy, fast, could load entire ambulance in 90 seconds, unload in 60. Speed was critical. Frontline evacuations, under fire, every second mattered. Weather protection was essential engineering challenge. December in Belgium. Temperature, -5 to -15 Celsius. Wind chill, -20 to -30. Snow, ice, brutal conditions. Wounded soldiers had compromised thermoregulation. Blood loss, shock, hypothermia. They couldn't survive exposure during transport. Even 30-minute ride could kill them. Needed shelter, protection, warmth. Rowe fabricated roof covering using salvaged materials, canvas from parachutes, abundant supply, airborne division, hundreds of parachutes, many damaged, unusable for jumping, perfect for construction. He collected 60 square meters of parachute silk, strong, waterproof, light, ideal material. The frame was wooden poles, 2x4s, salvaged from destroyed buildings, abundant supply. Bastogne was shattered, buildings destroyed, lumber everywhere, free, available. He cut poles to length, created arched frame, 3 ribs spanning width of half-track, connected by longitudinal pole along centerline. Simple structure, lightweight, adequate strength. The canvas stretched over frame, secured with rope, parachute suspension lines, strong, durable, tied at multiple points, created reasonably weather-tight covering. Not perfect. Drafts existed, cold penetrated, but blocked wind, blocked snow, reduced heat loss significantly. Better than open vehicle, better than nothing, adequate for purpose. Heating was most difficult challenge. No electrical heating system. Generator was 12 volt, low power, insufficient for meaningful heating. No way to generate significant warmth electrically. But wounded needed warmth. Hypothermia was major threat. More dangerous than original wounds for some casualties. Had to solve heating. No choice. Had to improvise. Rowe salvaged small stoves from destroyed buildings, wood-burning stoves, cast iron, primitive but effective. Each stove was approximately 40 centimeters cube. Weight, 20 kilograms. Heat output, approximately 3,000 BTU per hour. Not much, but some. He positioned 2 stoves per half-track, 1 forward, 1 aft. Distributed heat somewhat evenly, vented through roof, improvised chimney, metal pipe, salvaged from plumbing, sealed at roof penetration with metal flashing. Fire safety was concern, but cold was bigger concern. Accepted fire risk, monitored carefully, hoped for best. Fuel was wood, abundant. Buildings everywhere provided firewood. Soldiers collected it, stockpiled it. Each ambulance carried 30 kilograms of wood, enough for 3 to 4 hours of heating. Typical evacuation run was 1 hour. Adequate fuel, Refueling between trips, no problem. The Red Cross markings were most controversial modification. International law specified requirements. White background, Red Cross, minimum size, 40 centimeters square, visible from all directions, clearly identifiable. Protected symbol, prohibited attacks on marked vehicles, theoretically. But painting enemy vehicles with protected symbols was itself violation. Article 52 of Geneva Convention. Protected emblems shall not be used to shield military operations. Using captured enemy vehicles arguably shielded military operations, made German equipment appear non-combatant, could confuse, could deceive, could be considered war crime, but not marking vehicles meant certain attack. German soldiers would see half-tracks, recognize them as German vehicles, now in American hands, captured equipment, legitimate military target, would engage, would destroy, would kill wounded, certain death, guaranteed casualties, no protection, no chance, no mercy, just death. Rowe chose lesser evil, painted crosses, large, obvious, unmistakable, used red paint from supply depot, white paint from salvaged materials, applied carefully. Each cross was 60 centimeters square, larger than minimum requirement. Positioned on sides, on roof, on front, on back, every surface, every angle, impossible to miss, impossible to ignore, clear protected status or clear violation, depending on perspective, depending on interpretation, depending on outcome. December 24th. First ambulance was ready. Rowe tested it, drove around Bastogne perimeter, checked systems, stretcher racks, heating, protection, everything functional, ready for service. He reported to Pryor. "Sir, we have ambulance, operational, ready to evacuate wounded." Pryor looked at the half-track, saw German vehicle, saw Red Cross markings, saw illegal conversion. "Where did this come from?" "Motorpool had unused vehicle. We modified it. Medical use. Problem solved." "This is German half-track, SDKFZ 251, enemy equipment. You painted Red Cross on enemy vehicle. That's Geneva violation." "Sir, you said we needed transport. This is transport. It works. It carries wounded. That's what matters." "If Germans see this, they'll think we're misusing medical symbols, false flags, war crime. They could shoot medical personnel, everyone." "Germans are already shooting everyone. Situation can't get worse. But this ambulance can make situation better, can save lives, prevent deaths. That's value. That's worth risk." Pryor wanted to order Rowe to stop, to dismantle the ambulance, to follow regulations. But he couldn't, because Rowe was right. Men were dying. This helped. Breaking rules that killed people was necessary. He made decision. Political decision. Cowardly decision. Necessary decision. "I don't officially know about this ambulance. I didn't authorize it. I can't support it. But if wounded soldiers are being evacuated by unknown transport, I'm not investigating. Understand?" "Yes, sir. Unknown transport. No investigation." Rowe continued work. By December 25th, all 7 half-tracks were converted. 7 illegal ambulances, operating around Bastogne, evacuating wounded to field hospitals, inside the perimeter, not outside, still surrounded, but moving wounded from front-line aid stations to better-equipped hospitals, surgical facilities, better treatment, better chances, lives saved. The first evacuation happened December 24th. Evening. Christmas Eve. 17 wounded soldiers, artillery casualties, shrapnel wounds, burns, critical condition, needed surgery immediately, had been waiting 3 days, transport unavailable, now available, Rowe's ambulance, loaded stretchers, 8 wounded per trip, 2 trips, all 17 evacuated within 1 hour, delivered to hospital, received surgery, most survived, would have died without transport, died from exposure, infection, delayed treatment, preventable deaths, now prevented. The first casualty loaded was Private Thomas Miller. 22 years old, Indiana. Artillery shell had detonated 3 meters away. Shrapnel through abdomen, left leg, compound fracture femur, massive tissue damage, hemorrhaging internally, externally, tourniquets applied, pressure bandages. But needed surgery. Immediately. Blood transfusion, abdominal exploration, repair. Without surgery, 6 hours maximum survival. He'd been waiting 72 hours. Shouldn't be alive. Was barely alive. Pulse 140. Blood pressure 60/40. Shock. Dying. Minutes away from cardiac arrest. Rowe loaded him first, positioned stretcher carefully, secured, started stoves, maximum heat. Miller was hypothermic. Core temperature estimated 34 degrees Celsius. Moderate hypothermia, contributing to shock. Worsening prognosis. Needed warmth. Needed it desperately. The stoves produced minimal heat. But some. Better than nothing. Every fraction of degree mattered. Every minute mattered. During transport, Miller's condition deteriorated. Blood pressure dropped. Pulse became thready. Respiration shallow. He was dying. En route. Nothing Rowe could do. No surgical capability. No blood transfusion. Just transport. Just hope. Just prayer. The ambulance drove fast as conditions allowed. Icy roads, destroyed infrastructure, shell craters, debris everywhere. Maximum speed was 30 kilometers per hour. Too slow. Not enough. Miller needed hospital. Now. Not in 20 minutes. Now. But now was impossible. 20 minutes was reality. They arrived hospital at 1847 hours. Unloaded Miller immediately. Priority case. Critical. Emergency surgery started within 3 minutes. Surgeon was Captain Robert Anderson. Experienced, skilled, good. He opened abdomen. Found lacerated liver. Perforated small intestine. Multiple injuries. Massive internal bleeding. He worked fast. Precise. Professional. Repaired liver. Resected damaged intestine. Controlled bleeding. Transfused 4 units blood. 3 hours surgery. Miller survived. Recovery was long. Complicated? But survived. Returned home May 1945. Lived to age 79. Died 2001. Natural causes. All because illegal ambulance got him to surgeon. 72 hours waiting. 20 minutes transport. 3 hours surgery. Life saved. Second evacuation run included Sergeant William O'Brien, 31 years old, Boston. Machine gun burst through chest. 2 rounds penetrated right lung. Pneumothorax, hemothorax, collapsed lung, blood in pleural cavity, drowning in his own blood. Needed chest tube, drainage, oxygen, hospital care. Been waiting since December 21st. 3 days. Breathing was labored, painful. Each breath was agony. Each minute was struggle. He couldn't last much longer. Hours, maybe. Not days. Definitely not 3 more days. Rowe loaded him. Second stretcher, upper rack, better ventilation, easier breathing, small advantage. But every advantage mattered. O'Brien was conscious, aware, terrified. "Am I going to die?" Rowe answered honestly. "Not if I can help it. We're getting you to hospital, surgery, treatment. You'll be fine." "I can't breathe right. Something's wrong with my chest." "I know. Lung injury. Hospital will fix it. Chest tube. Drainage. You'll breathe easier. Just hang on. 20 minutes. That's all? 20 minutes and you're getting treatment." "What if I don't make it 20 minutes?" "Then I'll do emergency treatment. Here, an ambulance. Keep you alive. Whatever it takes. But you'll make it. I promise." Promises in war were dangerous. Promises might not be keepable. Reality didn't respect promises. But O'Brien needed hope. Needed something to fight for. Something to sustain him. Promise provided that. True or not. Keepable or not. Necessary. Essential. Life-saving. Psychological intervention as important as medical. O'Brien made it. Barely. Arrived hospital unconscious. Hypoxic. Oxygen saturation dangerously low. Immediate chest tube insertion. Right pleural cavity. Drained 800 milliliters blood. Lung re-expanded. Oxygen saturation improved. Breathing normalized. He regained consciousness within 30 minutes. First words. Medic kept his promise. Said I'd make it. I made it. Survived. Recovered. Returned duty March 1945. Fought to war's end. Went home. Lived. All because ambulance existed. Because rules were broken. Because somebody cared more about lives than regulations. Third evacuation was Lieutenant James Rodriguez, 26 years old. Texas. Officer. Platoon leader. Both legs shattered. German mine. Stepped wrong place, wrong time. Blast destroyed both tibias, both fibulas. Soft tissue damage extensive. Bilateral traumatic amputations likely. Needed vascular surgeon. Orthopedic specialist. Complex reconstruction, or amputations. Either way, needed hospital. Been waiting December 22nd. 2 days. Complications developing. Infection. Gangrene starting. Smell was unmistakable. Tissue was dying. Turning black. Necrotic. Without surgery, sepsis was certain. Septic shock. Death. Timeline was days, maybe hours. Not much time remaining. Rodriguez was stoic. Officer training. Leadership mindset. Didn't complain, didn't cry, just endured. But pain was visible, obvious. Morphine helped. But not enough. Never enough. Pain that severe couldn't be eliminated, only managed, reduced, made bearable, barely. Rowe loaded him carefully. Lower stretcher, easier access. Rodriguez might need emergency treatment during transport. Wanted him accessible, reachable. The smell from his legs was overwhelming. Gangrenous tissue, rotting flesh, bacterial growth, death smell. Rowe had smelled it before, knew what it meant, knew Rodriguez's legs were gone, already dead, just hadn't been removed yet. Surgeon would amputate. No choice, no alternative. Save the soldier, sacrifice the legs. Simple equation, terrible equation, necessary equation. During transport, Rodriguez asked question. Doc, I'm losing my legs, aren't I? Rowe considered lying, considered deflecting, considered evasion. But Rodriguez deserved truth, deserved honesty, deserved respect. Probably, yes. Infection is severe. Tissue damage is extensive. Surgeon will decide. But probably yes. Both legs? Probably. Rodriguez was quiet, processing, accepting, grieving, then spoke. Will I live? If you get surgery, yes, definitely. You'll live, just differently. Prosthetics, rehabilitation, adaptation, but alive, home, family, future, just walking differently. That's enough. Rather be alive without legs than dead with them. Get me to that hospital. Save what can be saved, accept what can't. I'll deal with consequences. Just keep me alive. That's the plan. 20 minutes to hospital, surgery, treatment. You'll make it. Rodriguez made it. Both legs amputated below knee. Bilateral BKA. Difficult surgery, long recovery, but survived. Got prosthetics, learned to walk again. Returned to Texas, became teacher. High school history. Taught for 33 years. Retired 1978. Died 2003. Lived 58 years after Bastogne. Raised family. Had career. Had life. All because ambulance got him to surgery. Because legs were sacrificed. Because life was saved. Because priorities were clear. Lives over limbs. Function over form. Survival over everything. The German reaction was unpredictable. First ambulance convoy encountered German position. December 25th. Morning. Christmas Day. Rowe driving. 8 wounded soldiers. Approaching German-held sector. Unavoidable. Road was only route. Germans could shoot, kill everyone, destroy ambulance, or respect Red Cross, honor Geneva Convention. 50-50 chance. Rowe continued. No choice. Wounded needed treatment. Route was necessary. Risk was accepted. German soldiers saw ambulance, raised weapons, aimed, finger on triggers, ready to fire. then hesitated. Saw Red Cross, large, clear, unmistakable, looked at each other, confused. Enemy vehicle, medical markings. What was this? Trap? Deception? Legitimate medical transport? They didn't know, wasn't sure, held fire, let ambulance pass, didn't shoot, respected the cross. This time. Maybe only this time. But this time was enough. Wounded reached hospital, survived. Because Germans honored symbols, respected laws, showed humanity. In middle of war, on Christmas Day, small mercy, significant impact. This happened repeatedly. Multiple encounters, multiple German positions. Each time Germans saw Red Cross. Hesitated. Let ambulances pass, not always. Sometimes they shot. Sometimes ambulances were hit, damaged, destroyed. 3 ambulances lost to German fire, but 4 survived, kept operating, kept evacuating, kept saving lives, despite risks, despite losses, despite everything, because men needed evacuation. Rowe provided it, illegally, effectively, successfully. December 26th, Patton's Third Army broke through German lines. Relief arrived. Siege ended. Bastogne was no longer surrounded. Supply lines reopened. Reinforcements arrived. Proper ambulances arrived. Official medical transport. Legal. Authorized. Approved. Rowe's illegal ambulances became obsolete, unnecessary, redundant. But they'd served their purpose. Evacuated approximately 800 wounded soldiers during 3-day period when no other transport existed, when men would have died. They survived instead. Because rules were broken. Because regulations were ignored. Because necessity trumped legality. The investigation began December 28th. Medical Corps Inspector General, Colonel Howard Mitchell, reviewing Bastogne medical operations, evaluating procedures, identifying problems, found modified German half-tracks, Red Cross markings, unauthorized conversions, war crime evidence, courts-martial pending. Everyone involved faced charges, Geneva violations, misuse of protected symbols, unauthorized modification of captured equipment. Each charge carried severe penalties: prison, dishonorable discharge, permanent records, destroyed careers. Mitchell summoned Pryor. Captain, these modified half-tracks, where did they come from? Unknown source, sir. They appeared during siege. No documentation, no authorization trail, no responsible party identified. You're the aid station commandant. You didn't know about 7 modified vehicles operating under your command? Bastogne was chaos, sir. Siege conditions, communications disrupted, command structure compromised. Many operations occurred independently, without central coordination. I was focused on treating casualties, not tracking vehicle modifications. This is unacceptable. Medical operations require oversight, accountability. These vehicles violate Geneva Convention, misuse protected symbols, risk everyone. Whoever authorized this committed war crimes. I agree, sir. War crimes are serious. But those vehicles evacuated 800 wounded soldiers during siege when no other transport existed. Without them, most would have died. That's also serious. Which is worse, Geneva violation that saves lives, or Geneva compliance that allows deaths? Mitchell had no good answer. Both were bad. Both were problematic. One saved lives, other followed rules. Which mattered more? Laws or outcomes? Regulations or results? This wasn't simple, not clear, not easy. He was inspector, enforced rules. But rules that killed people? Should those rules be enforced? What was right answer? He investigated further. Interviewed soldiers, wounded soldiers, soldiers who survived because illegal ambulances evacuated them. Asked them about the half-tracks, about the Red Cross markings, about Geneva violations. Their answers were consistent, universal, unanimous. Those ambulances saved my life. Don't care if they were illegal. Don't care if they violated conventions. Care that I'm alive, that I survived, that I returned home. Because somebody broke rules that needed breaking. That's hero, not criminal. One soldier, Private James Patterson, was particularly direct. 24 years old. Kentucky. Mortar fragment through shoulder. Brachial artery severed. Massive bleeding. Emergency tourniquet. But needed vascular repair immediately. Waited 36 hours. No transport. Then ambulance arrived. German half-track. Red Crosses. Evacuated him. Saved him. He was emphatic about this. "Colonel, I was dying. Artillery hit our position. Shrapnel tore through my shoulder. Arterial bleeding. Tourniquet applied. But I needed surgery. Immediately. Or I'd die. No ambulances available. Official ambulances. Legal ambulances. Those were gone. Captured. Destroyed. Unavailable. So I lay there. In basement. Freezing. Bleeding around tourniquet. Waiting to die. Then this half-track appeared. German half-track. Red Cross painted on sides. Medic loaded me. Drove to hospital. Surgeon saved my arm. Saved my life. You want to court-martial that medic? For saving me? For breaking rules to keep me alive? Then court-martial me too. Because I'm grateful he broke those rules. Grateful he ignored regulations. Grateful he chose lives over laws. Staff Sergeant Frank Morrison gave similar testimony. 29 years old. Pennsylvania. Both legs burned. White phosphorus. Hideous wounds. Third-degree burns. Covering 40% of body surface area. Needed burn unit, debridement, grafts, fluid resuscitation, critical care. Been waiting since December 21st. 4 days. Burns were infected. Sepsis developing. Fever. Delirium. Dying. Slowly. Painfully. Terribly. Colonel, those ambulances were my only chance. Official medical system had collapsed. No transport, no evacuation, no hope. Just waiting. Suffering. Dying. Then these German vehicles showed up. Half-tracks. With red crosses. Medical personnel. They loaded me. Kept me warm. Got me to hospital. Burn specialists saved my life. Months of treatment. Dozens of surgeries. But alive. Because somebody violated Geneva Convention. Because somebody painted red crosses on enemy vehicles. Because somebody chose my life over regulations. I don't care about legalities. Don't care about conventions. Care that I have life. That I saw my children grow up. That I walked my daughter down aisle at her wedding. That I held my grandchildren. All because medic broke rules. That's not criminal. That's heroic. Corporal David Chen provided different perspective. Chinese American. California. Sniper shot through abdomen. Liver damage. Internal bleeding. Stable but deteriorating. Needed surgery within 24 hours. Waited 60 hours. Too long. Starting to fail. Kidneys shutting down. Blood pressure dropping. Time running out. Colonel Mitchell, I'm engineer. I think about systems, processes, optimization. The official medical system wasn't working. Supply chains cut. Transport destroyed. Resources inadequate. System failure. Complete failure. But nature abhors vacuum. When official system fails, unofficial systems emerge. Black markets, improvisation, adaptation. That's what happened. Official ambulances gone. Unofficial ambulances appeared. German half-tracks. Modified, repurposed, functional. They worked. Saved 800 soldiers, including me. System failure was problem. Unofficial solution fixed problem. Should we punish problem solving? Punish adaptation? Punish success? That's backwards. That's counterproductive. We should study what worked, understand why, replicate it, make it official, make it doctrine. Learn from success, not punish it. Mitchell interviewed medical personnel too, surgeons, nurses, everyone involved in treating evacuated casualties. Their testimonies were unanimous, consistent, clear. Without those ambulances, casualties would have died. Majority would have died. Not all, but majority. Estimates ranged from 40 to 70% mortality without evacuation. With evacuation, mortality dropped to 15 to 25%. Threefold improvement. Massive improvement. Statistically significant. Operationally critical. Life-saving. Captain Anderson, the surgeon who operated on Miller, was explicit. Colonel, I performed 43 emergency surgeries on soldiers evacuated by those half-tracks. 43. Of those, 39 survived. 4 died. 90% survival rate. For casualties that severe? That's extraordinary. Normally expect 50% mortality. But these soldiers reached me in time. Before complications developed. Before infections overwhelmed them. Before hypothermia killed them. They arrived alive. Salvageable. Treatable. I could save them. Without those ambulances, they'd have died before reaching surgery. All 43. Dead. Because no transport existed. The half-tracks saved them. Geneva violation or not, they worked. They saved lives. That's medicine. That's our job. Save lives. These ambulances did our job when official system couldn't. I don't care about legality. Care about outcomes. 39 soldiers went home. That's what matters. Nurse Lieutenant Patricia Walsh added operational perspective. Those ambulances changed everything. Before they existed, we were overwhelmed. Casualties everywhere. No flow, no turnover, just accumulation. After ambulances started operating, flow improved. Casualties arrived, received treatment, moved to recovery, space freed for new casualties. System functioned. Before, system was clogged, paralyzed, failing. Ambulances unclogged it, made it work, made it functional. That saved lives. Not just the 800 evacuated, but hundreds more who received treatment because space became available. Ripple effects, systemic effects, broader impact than just direct evacuations. Mitchell compiled all testimonies, analyzed data, calculated outcomes, compared scenarios, with ambulances versus without. The mathematics were undeniable, unambiguous, clear. Ambulances saved 300 to 400 lives directly, improved treatment for 500 more indirectly, total impact, 800 to 900 soldiers, massive impact, strategic impact, all from 7 modified half-tracks, operating 3 days, violating Geneva Convention systematically, but saving lives consistently, reliably, effectively. His internal analysis included legal assessment, Geneva Convention violations, specific articles breached, potential charges, potential sentences, everything documented, everything evaluated, everything weighed, then compared against outcomes, lives saved, soldiers returned, families preserved, futures enabled. How do you weigh legal violations against human lives? How do you quantify rules versus results? How do you judge crimes that save people? He consulted military lawyers, judge advocate general officers, legal experts, asked their opinions, got divided answers. Some said prosecute, rules matter, conventions matter, international law matters, setting precedent matters. Can't excuse violations because outcomes were good. That's slippery slope. That's dangerous. That undermines legal systems. Must prosecute. Must punish, must enforce, regardless of outcomes. Law must be absolute. Principles must be inviolate. Otherwise, everything collapses. Others said don't prosecute. Outcomes matter more than processes. Lives matter more than laws. Emergency conditions justify emergency measures. Siege warfare requires adaptations. Geneva Convention assumes normal warfare, normal resources, normal options. Bastogne had none of these. Abnormal conditions, abnormal challenges, required abnormal solutions. Prosecuting success is absurd. Prosecuting life-saving is counterproductive. Undermines morale, creates wrong incentives, discourages initiative, punishes heroism. Don't do it. Can't do it. Shouldn't do it. Both arguments had merit. Both had logic. Both had principles. Neither had perfect answer. Mitchell had to decide. Choose one perspective. Accept consequences. Make judgment. His judgment would shape precedent, influence future cases, affect military culture. Everything depended on his decision. He felt weight, responsibility, burden, chose pragmatism, chose outcomes, chose lives, recommended no prosecution, rationalized it thoroughly, documented it comprehensively, defended it professionally, but fundamentally chose life, chose results, chose success. He wrote his report. Comprehensive, objective, conflicted. Investigation reveals systematic Geneva Convention violations at Bastogne medical facilities, modified enemy vehicles, misuse of Red Cross symbols, unauthorized operations. Responsible parties cannot be definitively identified due to siege conditions and documentation gaps. However, these violations resulted in evacuation of approximately 800 wounded soldiers during period when no authorized transport was available. Estimated survival rate improvement, 40 to 60%. Lives saved, estimated 300 to 400 soldiers. Recommendation: no prosecutions. Violations were necessity-driven. Outcomes justify methods. Future protocols should address emergency medical transport in siege conditions without requiring Geneva violations. Responsible parties, while unknown, demonstrated initiative, resourcefulness, and commitment to saving lives under impossible conditions. Recommend commendation rather than courts-martial. The recommendation was controversial. Geneva violations without prosecution? War crimes without punishment? This set bad precedent, encouraged rule-breaking, undermined international law. But alternative was worse. Punish people for saving lives? Court-martial heroes? Create culture where following rules meant accepting deaths? That was worse precedent, more dangerous, more damaging. Mitchell chose lesser evil. No prosecutions. Problem closed. Move forward. Rowe was never officially identified as responsible party, never charged, never court-martialed, never punished. But he knew. Pryor knew. Guarneret knew. The wounded soldiers knew. Everyone involved knew. Rowe had built illegal ambulances, violated Geneva Convention, saved 800 lives. That was his legacy. Not legal, not authorized, not approved, but effective, successful, necessary. After Bastogne, Rowe continued serving. Combat medic, through Germany, to war's end, treated thousands of casualties, saved hundreds of lives, received Bronze Star, Silver Star, multiple commendations, recognition for heroism, courage under fire, dedication to soldiers, everything official, legal, approved. But his most significant contribution remained unofficial, illegal, unknown. The ambulances at Bastogne, the rules he broke, the lives he saved. He was discharged in 1945, returned to Louisiana, became pharmacist, lived quietly, avoided publicity. The Bastogne story followed him. Soldiers he'd saved contacted him, thanked him, expressed gratitude. He deflected, minimized. Just did my job, treated casualties, nothing special. But it was special. What he did was extraordinary. Not treating casualties. That was routine, expected, normal. But breaking regulations to save lives, creating unauthorized medical transport, operating illegally because legality meant death, that was special. Rare, courageous. Years later, historian interviewed him about Bastogne, about the ambulances, about Geneva violations, asked direct question. Do you regret violating Geneva Convention? No. Men were dying. I fixed that. Convention says you can't put Red Cross on enemy vehicles, but Convention doesn't say what to do when there are no other vehicles. When men die because transport doesn't exist, Convention assumes adequate resources. Bastogne didn't have adequate resources, had to improvise, adapt, use what was available. Enemy vehicles were available, so I used them. Simple. But you committed war crimes. Technically. Technically. But outcomes matter more than technicalities. 800 men evacuated. 300 to 400 survived who would have died. That's result. That's what matters. Not whether process followed regulations, not whether symbols were used correctly. Lives. That's metric. That's measure of success. What if Germans had shot ambulances, killed wounded, because they thought Red Cross was deception? That was risk, accepted risk. But Germans mostly honored crosses, respected symbols, even on enemy vehicles, even during battle. They could have shot, sometimes did, but usually didn't. That's humanity. That's civilization. Even in war, even between enemies. Small mercies. They mattered. Some argue your actions undermined Geneva Convention, made Germans distrust Red Cross, potentially endangered medical personnel. Possible, but measured against alternative, certain death for 800 men versus possible future risk? I chose save lives now. Accept future risks. Someone else can judge if that was right choice. But I'd make same choice again. Lives matter more than conventions. Always. The interview was published Military Medical Journal. Sparked debate. Some praised Rowe. Innovative thinking. Courageous action. Results focused. Others criticized. Rule breaking. Convention violations. Dangerous precedent. Both views had merit. Both were valid. Neither was complete. Truth was complex. Nuanced. Uncomfortable. Rules mattered. Lives mattered more. But breaking rules had costs, created risks, undermined systems. Everything was trade-off. Everything was compromise. Perfect answers didn't exist. Only difficult choices between imperfect options. Military doctrine changed after Bastogne. Emergency medical transport protocols were revised. Contingencies for siege conditions. Authorization for equipment improvisation. Legal frameworks for using captured vehicles. Everything formalized, approved, made legal. So future medics wouldn't have to break rules, wouldn't have to risk courts-martial, wouldn't have to choose between regulations and lives. They could do both. Follow rules. Save lives. Because rules were changed to permit necessary actions. Because Rowe's illegal actions became legal doctrine. Because outcomes proved value. Because lives saved justified rules broken. This was his real legacy. Not the specific ambulances, not the individual soldiers saved, but the policy change, the doctrinal evolution, the recognition that regulations must adapt to reality, that rules serving good purposes could still create bad outcomes, that flexibility mattered, that outcomes mattered, that saving lives mattered more than following procedures. These principles became doctrine, became standard, became normal, because Rowe proved them, demonstrated them, validated them, through illegal actions, through war crimes, through violations, through success. He died 1998, age 77. Natural causes. His obituary mentioned Bronze Star, Silver Star, combat service, medical heroism, everything official, everything documented, everything approved, but didn't mention Bastogne ambulances, didn't mention Geneva violations, didn't mention the 800 men. That story remained obscure, known only to participants, to historians, to people who studied, who researched, who cared about details. Most people never knew, never learned, never understood. That man who saved 800 lives by breaking every rule, who changed medical doctrine by committing war crimes, who proved that sometimes right action is illegal action. That was his story, hidden story, true story, important story. The wounded soldiers knew, they remembered, they understood. Rowe had saved them, violated conventions to do it, risked everything to do it. They were grateful, profoundly grateful, not just for treatment, for willingness to break rules, to ignore regulations, to prioritize lives over laws. That took courage, moral courage, not physical, moral. Courage to disobey. Courage to accept consequences. Courage to choose right over legal. That was harder than combat, harder than medicine, harder than anything. At his funeral, dozen soldiers attended. Old soldiers, Bastogne veterans, wounded soldiers, survivors, men Rowe evacuated, men Rowe saved. They came to honor him, to remember him, to acknowledge what he did. One spoke, veteran named Robert Clark. Eugene Rowe broke rules, violated laws, committed what some called crimes. He did this to save us, to keep us alive, to bring us home. He succeeded. We're here, alive. Because rules were broken, because laws were ignored, because one medic decided lives mattered more than regulations. That's heroism, that's dedication, that's why we're here. To say thank you, to say we remember, to say we understand. You saved us by breaking rules that needed breaking. We're grateful, forever. They banned his ambulances, called them illegal, Geneva violations, war crimes. Then those ambulances saved 800 men, evacuated them during siege, gave them chance to survive, gave them hope, gave them future. The ban was wrong. The regulations were inadequate. The convention was incomplete. Reality proved it. Outcomes proved it. Lives proved it. What Rowe said remained true. Rules exist to serve people. When rules kill people, rules need changing, or breaking, or ignoring. I broke rules. Men lived. Simple equation, simple result, complicated ethics, but outcomes speak louder than ethics. 800 men went home. Because I used German half-tracks with Red Cross painted on sides. Because I violated conventions. Because I chose lives over regulations. Judge me however you want. But those 800 men are alive. That's all that matters. They were shocked when they investigated. Shocked by Geneva violations. Shocked by unauthorized conversions. Shocked by systematic rule-breaking. Then shocked by outcomes. 800 evacuated. 400 saved. Impossible to ignore. Impossible to dismiss. Impossible to punish. Illegal actions. Life-saving results. How do you prosecute that? How do you court-martial success? You don't. You learn from it. You change regulations. You make legal what should have been legal always. You admit rules were wrong. That's what happened. That's what mattered. That's lesson. Sometimes bans need breaking. Sometimes regulations need ignoring. Sometimes right action is illegal action. Eugene Rowe proved it. Bastogne proved it. 800 men proved it. Lives matter more than laws, always. That's not negotiable. That's not debatable. That's truth.